House of Cards, Season 4. To be honest with you guys, Season 4 was a bit harder for me to get into. I have no idea why. Well, we'll break that down. The moment Season 3 ended, with Claire desiring to leave Frank, I felt shocked, in awe of the direction the show was turning. I was amazed they would go that route, and we definitely saw it coming as the pieces were laid out. So naturally, I was all into Season 4, getting ready to watch it and see the tables turned where they may. Naturally, I was all into Season 4, getting ready to watch it and see what the tables turned where they may, but then my passion to wanting to watch this show just stopped. As if I saw the season finale and I was satisfied. Claire was leaving Frank, and truth be told, that sort of thing would mark the end to any show. But not in this day and age. I can't outrightly explain my lack of passion to wanting to watch the rest of the season, other than maybe I burnt myself out trying to skim through these seasons. It's quite possible, but I decided to really take my time, and that worked out for the better. Picking up not long after Claire telling Frank she was leaving him, we see a few characters we haven't seen since Season 2. Lucas. From prison, we see his side and how he copes from the story he tried to run against the Underwoods. Beyond his storyline coming to a screeching halt, he holds one of the most shocking turning points this series has to offer thus far. Even though I never completely cared for Lucas and where he came from in all this, he did serve a very interesting point. Doug Stamper, for sure, is back in his own mold, helping the Underwoods, trying to help them during the race for the re-elections. Not much to comment on with Doug, as he's just the gear that keeps on moving. It's mostly the power plays Claire tries to do against Frank for her own desire of power, while Frank finds one shady aspect and another to keep Claire at bay. It's literally a civil war against Claire and Frank. A few scandals to break Frank down from the other Democratic candidates trying to run opposed to him. But you definitely see how Claire tries to make things as her own, but with the public noticing her moves not alongside Frank, suspicion grows. In the end, deals have to be made to keep Frank and Claire together to save face, but Claire is still allowed to do her own thing. When Claire fails outside of Frank's campaign to be reelected, she finds ways internally to get after Frank. But let's talk about that turning point that involves Lucas. Lucas was not present in Season 3, and when we last left him, he was pretty much screwed. In Season 2, he essentially started building a case against the Underwoods. Not much is known. In fact, he really got started when Zoe Barnes got killed, so he had enough incentive to keep going even though he was a little attached to the Zoe. It really resulted in Lucas really going as far as he can and only to get screwed in the end. And when he lands himself in jail, unfortunately he has to call upon someone else to do it for him. And even he, Hammerschmidt, the chief editor that Lucas worked with, couldn't get that far either. So they both ended up disappearing in Season 3. They took a back seat. We don't know what really happened to them. And apart from that, when we finally get started in Season 4, we really see Lucas back. He tries to gain himself through the ranks of not being trusted, getting that story back, and seeing who will listen to him. But he doesn't realize his words won't be enough. So when it hits him hard. He talks to the people he think can help him, and even they turn him down. So the story is him trying to run against so much against him that he completely turns to desperate means that screw over many, many people, including Frank. Which kind of begs the question, was Lucas a good guy in all of this against Frank, or was he really just screwing everything up for the sake of Frank's plans? So it really just I'm thinking about the shades of gray here and who's really the good guy and who's really the bad guy. Even though that's not really what House of Cards is all about, you see one side that's trying to do some good against a guy who's doing bad, but this guy who's doing bad is trying to do some good for himself and hopefully whoever else he can screw over, but we're following the bad guy, and you kind of want him to succeed, yet you kind of don't. So it's really conflicting. But Lucas's actions puts Frank out of play for a bit, and even the usage of the fourth wall breakage. Instead, we get heavy on-set dreams that sort of provide the show's way of telling you what Frank is thinking, but it was an interesting 3 episodes to say the least. Once things get back on track, we see the story focus up. Frank's runner against him in the campaign, Dunbar, drops out due to Lucas's decision, bringing Frank toe-to-toe with Conway, a Republican candidate who is probably too good to be true for the country. This is where the Underwoods vow to destroy the Conways. This leads me into the second half of the season that really brought things home for me. I was back into the action and conflict. Season 4's second half, with no downside to the first half, just did a bit more for me. It gave me a lot of plot points I wanted to see, where they were all going, what's the fallout for all of this, and it all paid off. I'm gonna give House of Cards, despite my burnt out nature, the small issues with the first act, but had an enjoyable, complicated second act, an A minus. And that pretty much wraps up my review for Season 4. I know I probably didn't cover every single political aspect that's in this. There are some things that are worth mentioning and some things that aren't, but please, by all means, tell me if there's anything that you think are worth mentioning. Let me know down below. I would love to have a conversation with you about it. I'll get you Season 5 as soon as I can, and thank you to all who are eagerly anticipating this review or just wanted to know what I thought generally of this season as I slowly catch up. Please subscribe if you like this video, comment if you would like to tell me your favorite tidbit of this season, share and like if you want to just keep me going. Speaking of keeping me going, I really have to mention this before I end my review. The ending of Season 4 is actually really good. And how did I feel about it? Well, let's just say it was a little haunting. How haunting? Let's put it this way. You're home alone, in your house, you're watching a movie when you sneeze. Maybe once, maybe several times in fact, but once you finish, you gain your bearings and you continue watching the movie. And as you're watching the movie, suddenly it breaks the fourth wall and says, "Bless you."